Today, we're going to talk about 10 of my frightening faves for the winter season. They're not in quite any particular order. Maybe the top three are. We'll say the top three are in a particular order, but the other ones I just kind of have like jumbled in there. All right, so these are all books that have winter themes in them. So it's cold, there's snow, winter stuff's happening. They are horror, and then some are like thriller mystery kind of deal. All right, so the first one is Coram House by Bailey Seabolt. This is a thriller, and so this takes place during winter, but the history of it is a mystery of what happened back in the day. So on a summer day in 1968, there was this 9-year-old Tommy who vanished without a trace from Coram House, which is an orphanage that was on the shores of Lake Champlain. 50 years later, the opportunity to investigate his disappearance and the orphanage's sinister history is just the break that the struggling true crime writer Alex Kelly needs. Arriving in Vermont for research, Alex grows obsessed with Tommy's disappearance, and then her investigation takes a harrowing turn with the discovery of a woman's body in the lake. Alex is convinced this new death is somehow connected to Coram House's dark past, even as Officer Russell Parker just thinks she's desperate for a story. As the body count rises, Alex must prove that the key to finding the killer lies in a decades-old murder, or else she risks becoming the next victim herself. And so she arrives there. It's wintertime, and the history of this house is super effed up. Like, the nuns were like these evil, hateful people. The priest was super abusive, and it's a messed up story. It's a crazy mystery, and I was totally wrong about who was behind the murders and what was going on. There's some good twists in this one. Okay, so after that one, I have a really weird, atmospheric, kind of hazy, weirdly written book, and that is Leech by Hiram Ennis. There's an isolated chateau as far north as north goes. The Baron's doctor has died. The doctor's replacement has a mystery to solve, which is discovering how the Institute lost track of one of its many bodies. For hundreds of years, the Interprovincial Medical Institute has grown by taking root in young minds and shaping them into doctors, replacing every human practitioner of medicine. The Institute is here to help humanity, to cure and to cut, to cradle and protect the species from the apocalyptic horrors their ancestors unleashed. In the frozen north, the Institute's body will discover a competitor for its rung at the top of the evolutionary ladder. A parasite is spreading through the Baron's castle, already a dark pit of secrets, lies, violence, and fear. The two will make war on the battlefield of the body. Whichever wins, humanity will lose again. Okay, so the doctors in this have all been taken over by like a weird alien parasite, and they're not vindictive or evil. Like, they are there to help, but then this other parasite comes in. It's a really weird book. It was so atmospheric, though. I really like the atmosphericness of it, and I like really weird stuff, so this super appealed to me. After that one, we have The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This one takes place in a super snowstorm that is got that whole isolation thing going on. So main character Alex has all but given up on her dream of becoming a published author when she receives a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Attend an exclusive month-long writing retreat at the estate of feminist horror writer Rosa Vallow. Even the knowledge that Ren, her former best friend and current rival, is attending does not dampen her excitement. But when the attendees arrive, Rosa drops a bombshell. They must all complete an entire novel from scratch during the next month. And the author of the best one will receive a life-changing 7-figure publishing deal. Determined to win this seemingly impossible contest, Alex buckles down and tries to ignore the strange happenings at the estate, including Rosa's erratic behavior, Ren's cruel mind games, and the alleged haunting of the mansion itself. But when one of the writers vanishes during a snowstorm, Alex realizes that something very sinister is afoot. With the clock running out, she must discover the truth or suffer the same fate. So it's got that whole, like, they all get obviously trapped. Maybe it's not obviously, but a big freaking snowstorm happens and they all end up trapped in this house. And now what the F is going to happen? It's a great thriller. I really like this one. It's got that super, just the isolation of a crazy blizzard snowstorm in it. And it's a fun read. Next up is Misery by Stephen King. So, best-selling novelist Paul Sheldon thinks he's finally free of Misery Chastain. In a controversial career move, he's just killed off the popular protagonist of his beloved romance series in favor of expanding his creative horizons. But such a change doesn't come without consequences. After a near-fatal car accident in rural Colorado leaves his body broken, Paul finds himself at the mercy of the terrifying rescuer who's nursing him back to health. His self-proclaimed #1 fan, Annie Cockadoodie Wilkes. Annie is very upset over what Paul did to Misery and demands that he find a way to bring her back by writing a new novel, his best yet, and one that's all for her. After all, Paul has all the time in the world to do so as a prisoner in her isolated house, and Annie has some very persuasive and violent methods to get exactly what she wants. And she doesn't like swears, so if you ever saw the movie and read the book, she uses really dumb phrases like cockadoodie. So anyway, it's a very good isolation winter horror. Next up is a book that could be a crazy like B horror movie, and that is this indie book called Frostbite by Angela Sylvain. It's so ridiculous, it's awesome. So Frostbite, and this is the first book in the series too. There's going to be a second book that I think comes out very soon. I don't know if it's out this year. It could already be out. I don't know. I should probably look that up. I will look it up, and then if it is, I will put the name of that one down there too. Anyway, so Midwestern mayhem. Remember the 90s? Well, the town of Demise, North Dakota doesn't. And they're living in the year 1997. And that's because an alien worm hitched a ride on a comet, crash landed in the town's trailer park, and is now infecting animals with a memory loss inducing bite. And right before Christmas. Now it's up to 19-year-old Raylene and her best friend Nate to stop the spread and defeat the worms before the entire town loses its mind. And the only thing standing in the way are their troubled pasts, a doomsday cult, and an army of infected prairie dogs. And oh man, those prairie dogs, holy crap. They're supposed to be hibernating, but then they get all infected with the rage worms, and then they go and they start biting people, and then people start acting all crazy and murderous. And yeah, it is a wild ride, and it was honestly it's such a good read. Like, if you like weird 90s style slasher kind of horror, Frostbite's great. Would highly recommend. I mean, I would highly recommend all these books on the list. All right, so after that one, we have a mind-bending speculative thriller that is so freaking weird. I loved it so much. It's kind of sci-fi, and it takes place on a mountain in the cold. And it's like weird, kind of maybe interdimensional and stuff moving around. But anyways, so there's an enormous snow-covered mountain that has appeared in the Pacific Ocean. Only no one knows when it exactly showed up, precisely how big it might be, or how to explain its existence. When Harold Tunmore is contacted by a shadowy organization to help investigate, he has no idea what he's getting into as he and his team head out for the mountain. So the higher the Harold's team ascends, the less things make sense. Time moves differently, turning minutes into hours and hours into days. Amid the whipping cold of the higher elevation, the climbers' limbs get numb and memories of their lives before the mountain begin to fade. Paranoia quickly turns to violence among the crew, and slithering ancient creatures pursue them in the snow. Still, as the dangers increase, the mystery of the mountain compels them to its peak, where they are certain that they'll find answers. Have they stumbled upon the greatest scientific discovery known to man, or the seeds of their own demise? So it's framed by the discovery of Harold Tunmore's unsent letters to his family and the chilling and provocative story they tell. This was a book I read because Stephen King recommended it and loved it. How about a Bigfoot horror? This is one of the best Bigfoot horror fictional accounts that I've ever read. It is really good. And that is Devolution by Max Brooks. Max Brooks is also the author of World War Z, so maybe you've read that, maybe you've seen the movie. So Devolution, as ash and chaos from Mount Rainier's eruption swirled and finally settled, the story of the Green Loop massacre has passed unnoticed, unexamined, until now. The journals of resident Kate Holland recovered from the town's bloody wreckage, capture a tale too harrowing and too earth-shattering in its implications to be forgotten. In these pages, Max Brooke brings Kate's extraordinary account to light for the first time, faithfully reproducing her words alongside his own extensive investigations into the massacre and the legendary beasts behind it. Kate's is a tale of unexpected strength and resilience, of humanity's defiance in the face of a terrible predator's gaze, and inevitably of savagery and death. Yet, it's also far more than that, because if what Kate Holland saw in those days is real, then we must accept the impossible. We must accept that the creature known as Bigfoot walks among us, and that it is a beast of terrible strength and ferocity. So this is part survival narrative, part bloody horror tale, part scientific journey into the boundaries between truth and fiction. It was such an addictive read and so compelling, like, that if this did actually happen, it seems kind of how it would go, like up on this mountain. What would happen, especially when you get into winter, stuff starts dying off, there's no food, and once there's no food, that's basically why the Bigfoots start to come into where these people are trapped. So it's a great book. Very well done. We're getting into top 3 now. So these are my top 3 favorites. Number 3 is The Shining by Stephen King. And before I read The Stand, I would have said The Shining and Dr. Sleep combined might be like my favorite King reads, but I think The Stand is now. But The Shining is still up there. I absolutely love that book, and I love that story. It's so freaking weird. So I had to include it in this list. If for some reason you don't know what The Shining is about, let me just give you a quick little synopsis. So Jack Torrance, who is a writer, he is also a very bad alcoholic, and he has struggled with it throughout his life. And when he's drinking, he is bad, abusive, and pretty evil. So his new job at the Overlook Hotel is the perfect chance for a fresh start, because it's off season, there will be no alcohol there, it's closed, so he shouldn't have any temptation, he should be able to get some writing done. So as the off-season caretaker at the atmospheric old hotel, he'll have plenty of time too to reconnect with his family and work on that writing. But as the harsh winter weather sets in, the idyllic location feels ever more remote and more sinister. And the only one to notice the strange and terrible forces gathering around the Overlook is Danny Torrance, who is a 5-year-old, and he's very uniquely gifted. And he has what one would call the shine, where he can see ghosts and communicate telepathically, and like he sees all this weird stuff happening, and it takes the parents a bit to catch on to what's going on. And it's a crazy story, and it's another one of those like isolation feel winter reads, and it's absolutely great. If you haven't read The Shining by Stephen King yet, I would definitely say read it. It's awesome. In the number 2 spot is Krampus by Bram. I love Bram. Not only is Bram like an awesome author, his artwork is amazing. So like the books that you get of his have all the illustrations are all done by Bram, and they're beautiful. So Krampus is a great Yule season read and a fantastic horror / dark fairy tale. So it's set in Appalachia. It's a twisted fairy tale about a failed West Virginia songwriter who gets ensnared on Christmas Eve in an eternal war between the not-so-saintly Saint Nick and his dark enemy, Krampus, aka Black Peter, an ancient trickster demon. And it is dark and eerie. It's also emotional and heartfelt. It's so many things in it. And like it's shades of gray. Like what maybe everyone else thinks is evil is not as evil as the person who's supposed to be all good. Like Saint Nick sucks. And Krampus isn't as bad as he's all made out to be, but you know. It's quite the excellent read, and it's strange and whimsical and weird, and it checks off like all the marks of things I like in a book. And I appreciate that the artwork as well. It's just very beautiful. Another awesome book that Bram wrote that I feel like I have to tell you whenever I mention Bram is also Slewfoot. If you haven't read that one, it's witchy and it's amazing. All right, so what is the number 1 frightening fave? This is a book. The year I read it, I couldn't stop yelling about it, like constantly about how freaking good it was. And the number 1 book is Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. It is so good. And I think the reason for that is on a level of connection with the emotional quality of it the struggle between good and evil. I find a lot of those stories are very intense, and they just kind of grab you and you connect with it. Boys in the Valley takes place in the early 20th century at this St. Vincent's orphanage for boys. It's in this remote valley in Pennsylvania. So here, under the watchful eyes of several priests, 30 boys work, learn, and worship. Peter Barlow, who was orphaned as a child by a gruesome murder, has made a new life here. As he approaches adulthood, he has friends, a future, a family. Then, late one night, a group of men arrive at the door, one of whom is badly wounded. Occult symbols are carved all over his body, and his death releases an ancient evil that spreads like sickness, infecting St. Vincent's and the children within. Soon the boys begin acting differently, forming groups, taking sides. Others turn up dead. Now Peter and those dear to him must choose the sides of their own, each of them knowing their lives and perhaps their eternal souls are at risk. And it's so good. I have a standalone review for this. I will link that down below. And any of these other books that I have standalone reviews for, I'll put links to those in the description as well if you want to check out any of those and get like more of a feel for those. So do you have any frightening winter faves that you would recommend? Because I'm always looking for more. So these are ones I've already read. Like, I don't really have any on my TBR currently for the upcoming season. So if you guys have any winter, cold weather, mountainy horror / thriller / mysteries that you'd recommend, let me know down in the comments. Also, like cozy cold weather mysteries too. I like those as well, like the cozy murder mysteries. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.